I spent $2,500 on a backyard carnival for my daughter's birthday. When we got home, the cake read, "Congrats, Liam, my brother's son." Dad laughed. We just combined the parties to save money. My daughter went quiet and took off her tiara. I packed everything up, called the vendors, and canceled every future plan. By evening, my relatives were blowing up my phone. The last thing I checked before cake time was the cake, because it was the only thing on my list I wasn't worried about. It was 1:41 in the afternoon. I know because I photographed everything that day. Force of habit, you'll understand why in a minute, and the photo of the bakery box on my kitchen counter is stamped 1:41 p.m. Outside the window, 20 second graders were screaming their heads off on a bounce castle I'd rented, and my daughter Lily was wearing a plastic tiara like it had been welded to her by royal decree. I lifted the lid. My stomach dropped. Big blue frosting letters. "Congrats, Liam." Liam is my brother Matt's son. He turns 5 next week. This cake was supposed to say "Happy 8th birthday, Lily" in purple, because I ordered it that way, in person, and paid for it in person 3 weeks ago. Mom walked in with paper plates, calm as anything. "Oh good, you found the cake." "Mom, why does Lily's cake say Liam?" Dad strolled in behind her laughing. "We just combined the parties to save money." Combined. My party. My money. Their little secret. I want to tell you I said something devastating in that moment. I didn't. I stood there holding a cardboard lid while my brain performed the specific kind of arithmetic it does for a living, and the number it kept returning was wrong, wrong, wrong. To explain what I did over the next 14 days, and why 40 of my relatives ended up staring at a 10-foot projector screen in my parents' backyard, I have to back up to the beginning, not to that morning, to February. My name's Daniel, I'm 38, and for the last 11 years, I've worked as a senior property claims adjuster for Meridian Mutual. If you've never dealt with an adjuster, here's the job in one sentence. People tell me stories about what happened to their stuff, and I figure out which parts of the story the paperwork agrees with. You learn things doing this work. You learn that people lie most confidently when they're lying to family. You learn that a story falls apart at its timestamps before it falls apart anywhere else. And you learn the first rule of the trade, the one my old mentor drilled into me my first month on the desk. Don't argue with anyone. Argue with documents and let the documents win. I never expected to use any of that on my own mother. Life's funny. Lily is 8 now. Her mom, Beth, and I split when she was 3. One of those rare divorces that actually worked out, if you can believe it. We alternate the big stuff. This year, the birthday was mine, and Beth was at a conference in Denver, which she would later describe as the most expensive work trip of her life because she missed the whole show. Lily started planning in February. I'm not exaggerating. She has a spiral notebook with a unicorn on it, and starting in February, page after page filled up with crayon drawings of the same thing: a striped tent, a popcorn cart, a little train, stick figure kids with balloon strings. She'd bring it to me at breakfast and walk me through it like a project manager. "The cotton candy goes here, Daddy. The face painting goes here so the line doesn't block the castle." A real backyard carnival, so I made it real. I'm going to itemize it because the itemizing matters later. Bounce castle from jump around party rentals, $425. Carnival games package with the ring toss and the duck pond and a bin of plastic prizes, $310. Cotton candy machine and popcorn cart rental, $290. Miss Penny the face painter, 3 hours, $225. Balloon arch and decorations, $180. Trackless train, an actual little train that drives around the yard. Lily nearly passed out when it pulled up, $265. Tent, tables, and chairs, $340. Pizza and drinks for 20 kids and their parents, $210. Goodie bags, $130. The custom half-sheet cake from Marigold Bakery, $86. And a sparkly tiara from Claire's, $24, which turned out to be the most important $24 I have ever spent. Total, $2,514.66. I told people $2,500 because saying $2,514.66 out loud makes you sound like exactly what I am. Now, my family. My parents, Frank and Diane, live 20 minutes away in the house we grew up in. My younger brother Matt is 31. If you asked Matt what he does, he'd say he's building something. What he's building, as far as I can tell, is an Instagram account. He has a girlfriend, Kayla, who communicates primarily through smirks, and a son, Liam, who is 4 years old and, I want to be extremely clear about this, a genuinely sweet kid. None of what follows is Liam's fault. Hold on to that. I did. Here's the part I have to own. For about a decade, I'd been the family wallet, and I'd let it happen. The Christmas cabin in Gatlinburg, 3 years running, my card held the reservation. The lake house weekend every June, my deposit. The family reunion picnic, my name on the pavilion rental and the catering invoice. Somewhere along the way, Daniel's got it, stopped being a question, and became a load-bearing wall in how this family operated. Dad had a phrase he'd deployed my whole life whenever money and guilt needed to shake hands. Family fixes things, he'd say, and everyone would nod, and I'd get out my card, and things would be fixed. You already know where this is going. I didn't. That's the embarrassing part. I catch inflated claims for a living, and I never once audited my own family. There were signs that week, little ones, the kind you only see in the rear view. Mom asked me twice which bakery I'd ordered from. Twice. Specifically, which bakery. Matt texted me Wednesday asking what time we were doing cake, which I took as a rare flicker of interest in his niece. And at Sunday dinner, Aunt Carol squeezed my arm and said it was so generous what I was doing for the kids. Kids, plural. I remember a tiny tiny catch in my brain, like a page turning wrong, and I remember ignoring it, because who audits a compliment? The morning of the party, I was up at 6:30 zip-tying a balloon arch in the dark. By 9, wow, the jump-around guys had the castle inflated. By 10:15, the train was parked at the curb, and Miss Penny was setting up her brushes, and Lily came out the back door in her party dress and the tiara, and just stopped, both hands over her mouth. She looked at the tent, the popcorn cart, the whole crayon drawing standing there in 3 dimensions, and then she looked at me, and I swear to you that look was worth quadruple what I paid. "It's real," she said. "It's real," I said. Kids started arriving at 11, 20 of them, her entire class basically, plus parents balancing coffees. For 3 hours, it was perfect. I mean that. Whatever else happened, nobody can take those 3 hours. 20 kids screaming on the rides. Cotton candy and beards. A conga line behind a trackless train. Miss Penny turned Lily into a butterfly princess, and the tiara stayed on over the face paint, obviously, because a butterfly princess is still a princess. My parents showed up around noon. Mom went straight inside with the cake box. She'd volunteered to pick it up from Marigold that morning, which at the time registered as grandmotherly and helpful. Keep that detail. It's the whole case. At 1:38, I started herding kids toward the big table for cake. At 1:41, I lifted a lid in my kitchen, and you know this part already. The letters, the plates, Dad laughing in the doorway. What you don't know yet is what happened in the next 4 minutes, because it took me 2 weeks to fully understand it myself. Matt showed up next, an hour late to his niece's party and right on time for cake, which should have told me everything. He came through the kitchen with his phone already out, held sideways, filming for his Instagram. He panned across the counter, the balloons, me standing there with the box lid in my hand. Great setup, man, like I'd catered his event. Kayla drifted in behind him and never looked up from her phone. He loves sharing. I hadn't said a word yet. I want that on the record. Nobody in that kitchen had asked me anything, explained anything, or so much as glanced at the cake like it was a problem, which is how I learned, standing on my own tile floor, that I was the only person in the room encountering new information. Before I could say a word, Mom carried the cake outside. She lit the candles, she started the song, and half the yard sang, "Happy birthday, dear Liam," in Lily's backyard at Lily's party, in front of Lily's entire class. Not everyone sang. I have to be fair. The kids' parents mostly trailed off midline, exchanging the universal facial expression for, "Is this a family thing? Do we look away?" But my relatives sang. Aunt Carol sang with her hand on her heart. Dad conducted a little with his beer. Matt filmed it. And Liam, 4 years old, in a t-shirt with a dinosaur on it, having no earthly idea what any of this meant, beamed at his cake with the wrong colored letters while 20 children looked around for the birthday girl. My daughter stood there in her tiara. She didn't cry. She didn't blow out the candles. They weren't hers. She just went quiet, took off her tiara, and set it down next to the cake. 8 years old. She figured out the transaction faster than I did. The party had a new headliner, and she'd been recast as a guest, so she took off the costume and set it next to the prop. No scene, no tears. Just a small girl in face paint making herself smaller, in front of the entire 2nd grade. Something in me went very still. People talk about seeing red. This wasn't that. This was the opposite. Everything went quiet and slow and procedural, the way it does at work when a claim file stops being a stack of paper and clicks into a shape. I looked at my mother holding a lighter. I looked at my brother holding a phone. And some back room of my brain, the one that does this for a living, quietly opened a new file. I didn't yell. I smiled. I cut the cake. I gave the first piece to Lily and crouched down to her ear. "You and me later," I whispered. "Real cake, any flavor. Your name's so big they can read it from space." She gave me a nod about a centimeter tall, and if you've ever gotten a nod like that from your own kid, you know it goes straight into your bloodstream and stays there. Then I passed out cake to 40 people like a good host, and I laughed at somebody's joke, and I refilled the lemonade, because there were 20 children in my yard, and exactly 1 adult in that family acting like it. And the second the last guest left, I got to work. Here's what got to work looked like, in order, because the order matters. 3:15 p.m. I packed everything up, broke down tables, bagged trash, folded the tent with the jump around guys when they came for the castle. 4:05 p.m. I called the vendors and pulled my deposits on everything future. Not the birthday. That was spent. The other stuff. The stuff nobody ever thanked me for because it had stopped being a favor and started being infrastructure. The family Christmas trip I was funding? Canceled. Called the Gatlinburg property manager myself. The cabin deposit, $1,700 on my card, came back to my card. The lake house weekend? Canceled. The reunion picnic? Canceled the pavilion? Canceled the catering. Every future plan with my name on the bill. Gone by sunset. I didn't send an announcement. I didn't post anything. I just quietly turned off the tap and waited to see who noticed the water. They noticed by dinner time. By evening, my relatives were blowing up my phone. 17 missed calls. I sat at my kitchen table next to a plate with 1 slice of my daughter's hijacked birthday cake on it and watched the screen light up like a slot machine. Aunt Carol, you embarrassed your brother. Matt, Liam had fun. Lily didn't even care. Stop being dramatic. Dad's voicemail. Son, you owe your brother an apology. An apology for paying for a party they hijacked. Read Matt's text again though, because I did, about 30 times. Lily didn't even care. My daughter took off her crown and set it down next to a stranger's cake in front of her whole class, and the man filming 4 feet away read that as didn't even care. That text told me something important. I wasn't dealing with people who'd gotten carried away and felt bad. I was dealing with people who genuinely could not see it. I didn't answer any of them. At work, we have a phrase for the moment you stop engaging with a claimant and start building the file instead. We say the conversation has moved to paper. That night, at my kitchen table, the conversation with my family moved to paper. They just didn't know it yet. I opened my laptop and made a folder. I dropped in the day's photos, all time-stamped. I typed up a timeline while it was fresh. Who arrived when, who said what, who sang. It felt insane, honestly, doing an incident report about a birthday party. My hands knew the motions, though, and the motions were the only thing that felt like solid ground. I thought that was the whole story. A selfish stunt, a family that circles the wagons, and me finally learning where the wagons were parked. I figured I'd hold the line on the cancellations, endure a few weeks of guilt tripping, and we'd land in some new, colder normal. Then, 2 nights later, my cousin Dana called. Her voice was shaky. "You need to see this." Dana's the one relative who's always felt like actual family instead of an audience. She's a hospice nurse, allergic to drama, and she rents the duplex on Fairfield from my parents. Remember that? It matters later. It was 9:12 on a Monday night, and she wasn't really talking, just breathing into the phone like she'd walked upstairs. "I'm going to forward you something," she said, "and I need you to not tell anyone where you got it." She forwarded me a group chat, a secret one. It was named 2 Birds. Every relative was in it, except me. 2 birds, as in 1 stone, as in 2 birthdays, 1 wallet. I scrolled. My hands went cold. The chat went back almost a month. My whole family, planning my daughter's birthday party, or rather planning what my daughter's birthday party was going to be turned into, in a room I wasn't in. "Mom, 2 weeks ago. Don't tell him till the cake comes out, or he'll make it a thing. Matt, he goes overboard anyway. Let him cover it." There was more. Aunt Carol responding to the plan with 3 crying laughing emojis and 2 birds, 1 stone. So that's where the name came from. She was proud of it. Kayla. "He'll sulk for a week and then pay for Christmas like always." A cousin I take fishing wrote, "Lol classic Danny," with a thumbs up. Scroll, scroll, scroll. 14 people. My whole family sat in a room named after the joke of using me, and planned the exact moment I'd be allowed to find out, after the candles, when a decent man with a yard full of children would have no move left except to smile and cut. They hadn't gotten carried away. They had storyboarded it. I told myself it couldn't get worse than, let him cover it. I actually said that out loud, alone in my kitchen, like an idiot. Then I kept scrolling. Then I found the part that changed everything. Matt had sent a payment request to the whole family. $40 each for the kids' big joint party. 12 relatives paid him. Almost $500. For a party I paid every single cent of. The money went into Matt's account. It never came out. I sat with that for a long time. 12 green Venmo confirmations. 12 little paid receipts. 12 relatives who each believed they'd chipped in for the carnival. Uncle Ray paid. Aunt Pam paid. Cousin Theo paid twice. Once for himself, once for his mother. $480 collected against my invoices into my brother's pocket while I stood in my yard handing his son a paper plate. He didn't just crash my daughter's birthday. He sold tickets to it. I didn't reply. I took screenshots. All of them. Tuesday morning, I did what I always do when a file starts to feel personal. I took it to Marcus. Marcus Boyd runs a desk in our Special Investigations Unit, 19 years working fraud referrals, the guy who can smell a staged water loss through a phone line. We got coffee in the parking lot like always, and I laid it out for him as a hypothetical, which fooled him for exactly 0 seconds. "So your brother," he said, hypothetically. He looked at the screenshots for a while. Then he said the thing that reorganized my entire week. "This isn't an incident, Danny. It's a pattern with a receipt. Incidents get apologies. Patterns get files." He handed my phone back. "You know how we work a pattern. Independent sources. No single point of failure. If your whole case leans on one leak, then your case is really about the leaker, and they'll make it about the leaker." He tapped the screen. "Whoever sent you this, protect them like a witness. Build everything again from the outside. Independent sources." Fine. I knew exactly where the outside started. The one piece of this that existed on paper before I knew anything was wrong. Wednesday lunch, I drove to Marigold Bakery. It's a small place on 5th. Renata Silva has owned it for 16 years, and she remembered me because people who order purple custom lettering in person tend to get remembered. I asked her, as politely as a man can ask this, whether she kept records of order changes. She kept records of everything. She pulled the ticket up on the register system, and her face did a slow fold. Original order, placed July 14th in store, by me. Inscription, "Happy 8th birthday, Lily." Purple. Then a modification, logged at 4:56 p.m., the Thursday before the party. Phoned in. New inscription, "Congrats, Liam." Blue. And here's the detail that still gets me. Marigold's policy on phoned-in changes is a callback to a number on the order for verification. The number on my order, listed under pickup contact, was my mother's cell, because she'd volunteered to pick up the cake. Renata's own note, typed 16 years into running that store. Verified WU pickup contact. Grandmother. Says it's a surprise. The name change was phoned in 2 days early, by my mother. Renata printed the order log for me without my asking. She slid it across the counter like a sympathy card. 16 years, she said. People change inscriptions all the time. Grandmother's most of all. I never once thought to ask why. She boxed up 2 lemon bars and wouldn't let me pay. For the birthday girl. I sat in my car in the Marigold parking lot with the printout on the passenger seat, and I noticed my hands were perfectly steady, and that scared me more than shaking would have. A surprise. She'd told a bakery it was a surprise, which, credit where due, was the only completely honest thing anyone in my family said that week. Thursday added the last exhibit on its own. I wasn't even digging. A guy from my office follows Matt. Small city, everybody follows everybody. And he stopped by my desk and said awkwardly, "Hey, cool party, man," and turned his phone around. Matt had posted a reel. 60 seconds of my backyard, the castle, the train, the popcorn cart, Liam charging around in his dinosaur shirt. Caption, "Went all out for my little man's early birthday, Joestar dad life." 200 and some likes. Kayla in the comments, "Best dad ever." Miss Penny's business account had commented a paint palette emoji and "Thanks for having me," because as far as my own vendors could tell, the man in the video was the client. And at second 31 in the background, slightly out of focus, a small girl in face paint lifting a tiara off her own head. He'd filmed it. He'd filmed the exact moment and posted it as set dressing under a caption about what a great father he was, and the algorithm served it to my coworkers. I told myself it was just Instagram, and nobody believes Instagram. The rationalization lasted maybe an hour. Then I did what I do. I screen recorded the reel, saved the file with a timestamp, and pulled the still from second 31. In the file, it went. The pattern with a receipt now had cinematography. Friday, I paid $250 to sit in a conference room with Priya Raman, a civil attorney 14 years into a practice that's mostly contract disputes, and in her words, professionally disappointed families. I didn't want to sue anybody. I wanted what adjusters always want, to know exactly where every line was before deciding how close to walk. She went through the whole file without her face moving once. Lawyers and adjusters, same church, different pews. The $480, she said, is theft by false pretenses in this state, in the textbook sense. It is also $480 split across 12 family members, which means no prosecutor will ever read past the first sentence. And the claim isn't yours to bring regardless. It wasn't your money. The people he collected from could take him to small claims. You can't. And the cancellations? Your name, your cards, your reservations. You canceled your own generosity. There's no cause of action for that, though I imagine your family is drafting one emotionally. First flicker of a smile. Then she leaned forward. And this next part is the reason the finale looked the way it looked, so listen to it the way I did. If you ever put any of this in front of people, and knowing families, someone eventually will, here is my professional advice. Documents only. No commentary, no adjectives. A true document, accurately shown, defends itself. The moment you start narrating, you're the story. Show the paper and stand still. I asked what she'd do. Priya Raman, 14 years of other people's worst behavior across her desk, looked at the folder for a second. I'd let the paper talk. I printed everything. 41 pages. Then I waited. 6 tabs, because I physically cannot help myself. A, the party photos, time-stamped. B, my vendor invoices and receipts totaling $2,514.66. C, the Marigold order log. D, the Venmo request and the payment confirmations. E, 28 screenshots from a group chat called Two Birds. F, a one-page timeline, no adjectives, exactly like Priya said. It sat in a folder on my desk, and I genuinely did not know yet what it was for. That's the truth. I built it the way you build a storm shelter, hoping it stays a room. The invite came Sunday. Mom's text, all sunshine. Real party for Liam this Saturday at our house. Whole family. Then Matt, you'll handle the setup, right? You're good at that stuff. I stared at that text for a long time. 8 days after they hijacked my daughter's birthday. No apology had arrived. No acknowledgement, nothing. The missed calls had simply cooled into a new consensus, which was that I'd overreacted, been talked about, and would now resume my duties. You'll handle the setup, right? The tone a man uses with a vending machine that ate his dollar last week, but has probably sorted itself out. The storm shelter on my desk quietly became a plan. I typed one word back. Sure, I said I'd handle everything, and I meant it. I want to walk you through the next 5 days honestly, because in the version of this story where I'm a cold genius, I decided everything in that moment. I didn't. The week nearly took the whole thing apart twice, and both times, it wasn't about them. It was about the 2 people I'd never let get caught in machinery, my source and my kid. Monday, I booked the emergency slot with Dr. Ann Whitcomb, the family therapist I'd seen during the divorce. 22 years of sitting across from families like mine, a woman with a gaze like a level. I told her all of it, tabs A through F, the sure, the projector idea assembling itself in my head like weather. Say the plan out loud, she said. So I did, and it sounded exactly as unhinged as you'd think. She didn't flinch. She asked one question. What's the difference between revenge and refusing to keep a secret? I said I didn't know. Revenge needs an audience to suffer, she said. Truth just needs one. You've spent 10 years buying quiet in that family. How's the exchange rate? And then, while I was still recovering, here's my only rule for Saturday. Whatever you decide. Lily will hear about it someday. Kids always hear. Build the version you'd be willing to tell her yourself, sentence by sentence when she's old enough to ask. The Lily test. Every decision after that hour ran through it. It's why there was no speech. It's why the kids weren't in the yard for it. It's why a 5-year-old I love got a correct cake with his own name on it. Paid for by me, because I was not going to do to Liam what they did to Lily. The file was for the adults. Only ever the adults. Tuesday, Uncle Ray called me. I didn't call him. Hey, with everything canceled, do I still owe Matt for the party money? Should I be asking him for that back? And there it was. An independent source, walking in the front door. I told him I was putting the party accounts in order, which was the plainest true sentence available, and asked if he could send me what he'd sent Matt. His receipt landed in my email in 4 minutes. Aunt Pam's took 10. Cousin Theo sent both of his with the message, "Wait, what did this money do?" 3 payer-side receipts, sourced from the payers themselves, no leak required. Marcus would have wept. Wednesday at 11:40 p.m., the phone rang, and it was Dana, and she was crying. "They're going to know it was me." Her voice was small and terrible. 14 people in that chat, Danny, and everyone knows we're close. If you show those screenshots, they'll do the math in 4 seconds. I rent from your parents. My lease is up in March. Maya's school district is that duplex. She breathed. I'm not saying don't. I'm saying I'm scared, and I needed to say it to you instead of the ceiling. I sat on my kitchen floor at midnight and looked at the plan from her side, and the plan looked like me spending her safety to buy my justice. Then tab E is out, I said. It's out, Dana. I've got the bakery log and the receipts. That's enough. It's not, though. She laughed, wet and angry. The receipts prove what Matt took. The bakery proves what your mom did. Neither one proves they all knew. That text, "Don't tell him till the cake comes out," that's the one that matters, and you know it's the one that matters. She was right. I rebuilt the slideshow that night without the chat at 1:38 in the morning, and what was left was true and toothless. A money dispute and a mixed-up cake. Deniable. Survivable. Aunt Carol could tut her way through it. I saved the defanged version anyway and told Dana it was done. The chat stayed buried, no argument. She hung up unconvinced. So was I. That's what a crisis actually feels like, by the way. Not a ticking clock, just 2 loyalties in a small room, and you between them with a folder. Thursday night broke the tie, and it wasn't me who broke it. I was tucking Lily in. She'd been quieter since the party. Not dramatic, nothing you could point to, just a kid keeping her own counsel. And out of nowhere, into the dark, she said, "Do I have to go to Liam's party?" "No, baby. You're at Maddie's this weekend, remember?" Long pause. Then very quietly, in the voice of a child solving a logistics problem, "Daddy, next year can we have my birthday somewhere Grandma doesn't know about?" I said something soothing. I don't remember what. I sat in the hallway outside her door for a long time after, on the floor, in the dark, doing the math on what it costs a kid to start planning her own life around the people who are supposed to protect it. Friday morning, before I'd decided anything, my phone buzzed at 6:58. "Dana, show it, all of it. I mean it. I talked to Maya, I ran the numbers, and I'd rather fight about a lease than spend one more Sunday smiling at these people over pot roast. Some things should cost something. Show it." I called her, and we talked for 40 minutes, and she didn't waver once. Hospice nurses, man. They know exactly which things you regret at the end. Friday night, I finished it. The real version. I signed out the office projector like it was a company car. I loaded the slides onto a thumb drive, printed the full file at FedEx office for $18.73. Every exhibit got its own page, sue me, and wrote one email, subject line, "The party accounts, full file," attached the PDF, addressed it to 22 adult relatives, and scheduled it. Saturday, 4:45 p.m. Then I drove to Marigold and ordered one more cake. Round, chocolate, orange frosting, dinosaurs. "Happy 5th birthday, Liam." Big letters. $92. Renata read the ticket back to me. Right name this time? Right name. Saturday came. Lily stayed at her best friend's sleepover. I made sure of that. She'd seen enough. I showed up early with folding tables, streamers, and one big projector screen. Honda Odyssey packed to the ceiling. Tables, the screen, a cooler, a cake box, and 41 pages in a manila folder riding shotgun like a partner. I strung streamers. I set up chairs. I rented the bounce house again. Same castle, same company, another $180 on my card, and yes, I clocked the irony of paying jump around twice while my brother sat on the family's money. Consider it a stage rental. Mom beamed. See, family fixes things. Dad gave me a satisfied nod, like a man whose dog had finally learned to sit. Matt's girlfriend smirked over her cup. "Glad you finally stopped sulking." I smiled at all 3 of them. 2 weeks earlier, that smile would have been surrender. Now it was just the last slide loading. I paid my 16-year-old niece Maya, Dana's kid, $40 to run games for the little ones out back, behind the house, away from the yard. Ring toss, freeze dance, the castle. "Keep them back there till I come get you for cake," I told her. $40. The only $40 anybody spent honestly on either party. By 4 o'clock, 40 relatives filled the backyard. Burgers, balloons, little Liam in a superhero cape. The kids piled into the bounce house out back. I flipped burgers. I refilled the ice. Aunt Carol told me it was big of me to come around, and I said it was time, and meant every word of it in a way she'd understand in roughly 40 minutes. At 4:40, Matt tapped his glass and grinned at the crowd. Before cake, my brother put together a little family slideshow. He didn't ask me first, is the beautiful thing. He just assumed. A slideshow is set up. Set up is Danny. Danny had been sulking, but Danny came around. The machine dispenses. He'd handed me the room the way he'd handed me every bill for 10 years, without looking. Everyone clapped. Everyone turned to the screen. I pressed play. The first slide wasn't a baby photo. It was Mom's text, 10 feet tall. "Don't tell him till the cake comes out." The yard did that thing where 40 people inhale at once and nobody exhales. I stood next to the projector and said nothing. Documents only. Show the paper and stand still. Slide 2. Matt, in the same chat. He goes overboard anyway. Let him cover it. Sender name and timestamp visible, 10 feet tall, in my brother's own font. Slide 3. The payment request, $40 each for the kids' big joint party. And beside it, 3 receipts. Uncle Ray recognized his own Venmo screen from 30 feet away away and stood up out of his lawn chair like it had ejected him. Slide 4. 2 columns, my very best work. Collected from family, 480s, spent on the party by Matt, $0, paid by Daniel, $2,514.66. Bakery receipt font. You could hear lawn chairs creak as the 12 hairs, one by one, located themselves in the arithmetic. Slide 5. The marigold order log, enlarged with one line highlighted. The phoned-in change, the date 2 days before the party, and the verification note, pickup contact grandmother, says it's a surprise. Mom made a sound I'd never heard from her. A small, flat, ah. The sound of a person recognizing her own phone number on a screen the size of a garage door. Slide 6 was the last one. No text at all, just a still frame, pulled from a reel my brother posted himself, slightly blurred in the background of his own footage. A small girl in face paint lifting a tiara off her head. I let it sit there. 5 seconds. 10. Mom got to the projector and yanked the cord out of the wall. The screen went dark. It didn't matter. At 4:45, right on schedule, 22 phones buzzed at once, all over the yard. A little rainfall of notifications. The party accounts, full file. You can unplug a projector. Reply all is forever. Nobody spoke. Uncle Ray was holding up his phone at Matt with a face like a toll booth. Aunt Carol was scrolling with her mouth open, doing 2 weeks of math in real time. Kayla had stopped smirking, permanently, as far as I know, and my father was looking at me, not at the screen, at me, like the dog had not, in fact, learned to sit. I picked up the folder and put it on the food table, next to the potato salad, where the file belonged. Then I said the only words I said all afternoon. Liam's cake is in the kitchen. It's paid for, and it has his name on it. Big orange letters, dinosaurs. He should get to blow out his own candles at his own party. Every kid should. I looked around the yard once. The full file's in your email. I won't be discussing it. I walked around the side of the house to the back, where the little kids were mid-freeze dance, and slipped Maya her $40. Liam spotted me and came running in the cape. Uncle Danny, are you staying for cake? $480 had been collected in this kid's name. He just wanted everybody there. Not today, buddy, I said, and crouched to his level. But it's a good cake. I checked. It's got your name on it and everything. He high-fived me and ran back to the freeze dance. 5 years old, unrobbed. Exactly how it should be. In the rearview mirror, the screen stood in the yard, 10 feet tall and blank. 40 adults arranged around it like a jury on lawn chairs. I drove to Maddie's house and took the girls for ice cream. Here's what actually happened afterward, which I'll keep short, because the truth is, the fireworks were over. Everything else was just paperwork clearing. That night, my phone did not blow up. 4 texts, that's all. Uncle Ray. Refund request sent. Thanks for the file. Dana. Proud of you. Hot roasts at my place now. Beth from Denver, who'd gotten the PDF forwarded by 3 separate relatives within the hour. I've read Exhibit E twice. You did this exactly right. Hug her for me. And at 11:58 p.m., a 4-paragraph text from Matt with the word humiliated in it 5 times and the word sorry in it 0. I archived it. Some habits are worth keeping. Over the next 2 weeks, 12 refund requests hit my brother's Venmo. He paid 9 of them fast. Public Pressure is its own collections agency. The last 3 cleared after Dad made repayment a condition of showing up to Sunday dinner, which is the first bill in recorded history my father ever made Matt pay. The reel came down Sunday morning, but not before Aunt Pam commented publicly, "Is this the party we paid for?" A sentence I did not write, would not have dared to write, and think about weekly. Kayla stopped appearing in the pictures by September. Aunt Carol sent the family a long message about how we all could have communicated better, with a prayer hands emoji. I replied, agreed, and muted the thread. Priya billed me for one follow-up call to confirm what I already knew. Nothing I'd shown was false, nothing was private that hadn't been mass texted to 12 hairs, and truth accurately displayed defends itself. Cleanest yard sale I've ever reviewed, she said, and hung up. 3 weeks out, an envelope showed up in my mailbox. Mom's handwriting. Inside, a check for $86, memo line cake, and a card with 1 sentence in it. There's no version of this where I wasn't wrong. Mom, no spin, no we all, no weather report. I sat with it for a while. Then I cashed the check and put the card in the file, under a new tab. G, for the first honest document any of them ever gave me. Dad came by in October, alone, on the porch, with the birthday present for Lily that had gone missing in all of it, a telescope, the exact one from her list. He didn't lead with the mantra. He said, "Your mother went too far, and I laughed in your kitchen. That one's mine to live with." Then he asked what it would take. "You can be her grandpa," I said. "Come to things. Bring nothing but yourselves. The bank's closed." He nodded and looked at the yard for a minute. He didn't say family fixes things. Maybe he'd finally noticed who had been doing the fixing. And Dana? Her lease renewal arrived in November. 2 years. Same rent. Unprompted. Mom handed it to her at pot roast, which is at Dana's place now. Most Sundays, 6 or 7 of us. Paper plates. Turns out the family survives fine at a smaller table. Some of it even improves. The Saturday after the slideshow, we had the real party. Attendance, 3. Me, Lily, and Maddie at my kitchen table, with a marigold cake Renata flat out refused to let me pay full price for. White frosting, purple letters, edge to edge, so big you could read them from the street. Lily, 8 candles. She blew them all out on the first try. The tiara was on her head, by the way. Nobody handed it back to her, and I never said a word about it. She'd walked past it on her dresser for 2 weeks, and that morning, she just put it on herself, which, as far as I can tell, is the only way crowns should ever work. "What did you wish for?" Maddie asked. Lily looked at me over the smoke and smiled and didn't say. Her wish, her cake, her name on it. That part's not negotiable anymore.